Wow. That Liverpool versus Barcelona match, man. Ooh, I'm still buzzing from that. As a neutral, that was fun as hell to watch. But hey, we'll get into that. This, of course, is a recap, in my opinion, on the matches from this week, how the teams did, what they didn't do well, and what they're up against in the second leg, etc. And this video is brought to you by the homies over at OneFootball. Big thank you to them for sponsoring this video, for providing a free download on either iOS or Android to you by using the link in the description. OneFootball breaks news the fastest for you based on the teams and competitions you follow, has great articles to read, live scores and live tickers to keep track when you're on the go, highlights, and so much more. So check it out in the description. All right, let's go. Spurs hosting Ajax to start. As expected, Ajax were the stronger team to start things off, dominating the ball at times, and they eventually found their breakthrough when Donny van de Beek was slipped through by Hakim Ziyech. Some thought it was offside, but you can see that the trailing foot of Trippier plays him on by an inch or two. Man, he had his entire life to take on the shot, hey? Maybe even his afterlife included there, but when players have that much time to think about their shot and look at the keeper twice, it always scares me. It always makes me think they'll get caught in two minds and end up striking it directly at the keeper, but credit to him, he didn't do that. 1-0 Ajax. Later on, Van de Beek found himself in behind the defenders once again with Neres to his right, but instead of squaring it to Neres, he went for the strike and Lloris saved well. I was quite critical of Van de Beek in this moment as I really thought he should have squared it to Neres, but watching it back again, I think Alderweireld may have cut out the pass had he squared it, so I'm fine with it. Good save by Lloris. Llorente had Tottenham's first real opportunity, which he blew, and later, a scary moment saw Alderweireld and Vertonghen have a clash of heads, which left Vertonghen with a gash on his nose and seemingly quite concussed. Now, the referee did well to really grill the player and the playing staff, the medical staff I should say, as to whether Vertonghen was fit to continue, but thankfully Vertonghen took himself off the pitch as we almost had a David Ospina moment once again, and as he left the pitch his legs started to collapse underneath him and he needed assistance to go down to the tunnel. It was a really sad sight, and here's hoping medical teams will prioritize identifying the signs of concussions better for the well-being of their players. I was a little sympathetic to the medical team during my live stream. Anyways, speedy recovery to Vertonghen. He was taken off for Sissoko, which led to a formation change for Spurs with 4 at the back. And with that change and the introduction of the Frenchman, the tides began to turn for Spurs a little bit. Their shape was much better, and it was difficult for Ajax to break through at that point. In the second half, Spurs really sorted out their pressing and didn't give Ajax the opportunity to pass the ball out along the ground as they are wont to do, and forced them to play the long ball. I don't know how many times I saw a diagonal ball from the Ajax back line that led to a loss of possession for them. Ziyech, Neres, and Tadic aren't going to be winning too many aerial duels with Alderweireld and Sanchez. But because of how well Tottenham were executing their press, they were forced into that long ball time and time again. And Spurs began taking the match to Ajax way more as a result of this, with Ali getting their best chance of the match, though it was right at Onana. Now, they didn't have many great chances. Most of their efforts went wide, and Onana only had to make an actual save in this match once, besides plenty of collects and punches. But you certainly got the feeling that, okay, wow, if Spurs had Son in this situation, we would probably be talking about at least a draw. But while Spurs still dominated throughout the half, Ajax came extremely close when one of their fluid attacks got through the Spurs defensive block and the ball found itself at the feet of Neres. And with a ton of space, his strike cannoned off the post. Fine margins. Take your chances. Okay, this will come up later. And that about did it for this match as far as notable moments. 1-0 Ajax was the final as they get that important away goal and don't concede on the road. I think Spurs will be disappointed with the result, but they'll still be quite optimistic with the fact that Heung-min Son will be back in the lineup for the second leg. Now, their away form in the Champions League hasn't been great, with just one win coming against the Dortmund side that was in a terrible stretch of form in that moment. But if they can get some bounces in their favor like they did against Manchester City when they played away, and if a clinical finisher like Son is on the end of those bounces and chances and not Llorente, who I don't expect to start in the second leg at all, but if they do get that, then Spurs will be within a chance of turning this around. But let's be honest, it'll take a massive effort. Look at Ajax's home form in the Champions League. Now in the preview, I did misspeak, and I said that the Real Madrid performance at home was their worst of the season, when I meant to say that it was their worst result of the season. Their worst home form result of the season in the Champions League. Jeez, I can't even say it properly now. Because anyone who watched that match will know that Ajax dominated Real Madrid, but just didn't take their chances. If they win or get a draw, they're through. The question will be, with Tottenham applying so much pressure to push for a goal, how will they handle Ajax's counterattack that they have used to such great effect so far this season? I'm really interested to see how this one plays out, because one thing is for certain, you have a great manager in Pochettino who, I mean, if Spurs playing in the semi-finals this season isn't evidence enough of how good he is, then the change in Spurs in the second half should be ringing alarm bells for you. He got it right that time. He doesn't always get it right, but he got it right that time. Then there's Erik ten Hag, whom I've been looking at his come up in Dutch football a lot more recently. He also had a stint coaching the Bayern reserves, by the way. And he certainly seems as though he could be moving to a big team soon. His style of play is certainly attractive, and it helps that Ajax has the players with the technical ability for it as well. But I hope that he stays with Ajax for at least another season. And my God, were we ever treated to an incredible match between Liverpool and Barcelona. This is what the Champions League is all about. Two teams going for each other's throats and attacking mercilessly. But the theme of the match, take your chances. Let's get into this. Liverpool started the match fairly well as their attack looked dangerous, but all the same, there were warning signs from Barcelona with Coutinho or Suarez, or take your pick, getting in behind the Liverpool back line. Offside on occasion, but they got through on a couple occasions as well. Big warning there. At the other end, there was a moment where Piqué clumsily got way too close to Mane in the box and bundled him over. Now, you've seen penalties given for that before, but all the same, there was a Matip handball in the box at the other end moments later. That wasn't given, and you've seen penalties given for that before. So, for me, they kind of cancel each other out. Move on. And speaking of Mane, he had Liverpool's best chance of the first half when he was played in behind, and he skied it. Now, I get that the ball was bouncing and it wasn't exactly a tap-in, but if you want to go further in this competition, you have to score opportunities like that. In fact, let's go to Suarez's goal, a goal that came from nothing. When Jordi Alba whipped a ball in behind, Suarez split Matip and Van Dijk, launched himself through the air, and his deft touch went past Alisson and in. As far as difficulty of finish goes, that was up there with Mane's opportunity. The difference? Suarez took his chance. When you don't get a ton of opportunities, you have to take them, and Barcelona did exactly that. Now, Liverpool were forced to change their game plan a little bit with Naby Keita getting injured, though I thought that Henderson actually did quite well when he was introduced, but nobody on the Liverpool side could get the quality final ball that they needed in the attack, and only a small part of that is Liverpool's fault, as it's mostly down to the incredibly well-drilled Barcelona back line of Piqué, Lenglet, Jordi Alba, and to a slightly lesser degree, Sergio Roberto last night. There were so many occasions where Liverpool were just a touch off, and Alba intercepted, or a massive tackle from Piqué or Lenglet. Vidal in the second half was immense as well, and definitely justified his selection over Arthur. In the second half, all of the play was basically Liverpool. But again, it often amounted to passing around and trying to find a way through the massive amount of Barcelona players there. Why? Valverde switched to a 4-4-2 when he brought on Semedo for Coutinho, as Sergio Roberto moved up to the mid. Liverpool had a torrid time getting through, and when they did, either their finishing wasn't up to snuff or Ter Stegen had it covered. First, Ter Stegen denied Salah, though it looked like it may have been going wide anyways. Then he denied Milner, who struck it right down the middle. If he hits that in either corner, it's most likely a goal. But again, Liverpool not taking their chances, unlike Lionel Messi, who cleaned up Suarez's strike that hit the bar and made it 2-0. Then, Messi transported us to another planet, man, when he hit an absolute screamer of a free kick that bent perfectly into the upper 90 of Alisson's goal. You cannot blame anyone for that goal, really. It was a perfect strike from the alien, Messi. To sum up the night perfectly, Liverpool went and attacked almost immediately after Barca's goal to make it 3-0, and Firmino's strike was stopped off the line by Rakitic, as Salah's finish on the follow-up went off the post. And there's two things happening here. First, we get to see yet another testament to how well Barcelona were defensively. Might I remind you that it was Rakitic tracking back to clear that strike on the line. And then we saw how this tournament is won by the quality and the fine margins of the match. Salah has to score that goal. I'm not blaming him for the loss or anything, but like Mane and Milner earlier, you have to finish an opportunity like that. There's 3 opportunities right there that Liverpool blew that could have made such a massive difference. And that's what this game came down to in the end. As I said earlier, the moral of this match, or the theme of this match, is simple. If you want to be a champion, if you want to compete with the big boys and defeat the big clubs of Europe, you've gotta take your chances. Perhaps 3-0 doesn't really reflect how close this match actually was, but it reflects the quality of the finishing that one team exhibited and one team did not. So 3-0 is a huge deficit, and what we saw in the second half when Valverde changed the system up to a 4-4-2 to close things out, you just wonder if he'll employ that formation and counter-attacking mentality for the next match at Anfield, or if they will start the same and shift into it later. For Liverpool, is it hopeless? It's not hopeless, no, but it will be challenging. If you look at last season, AS Roma lost the first leg 4-1 away to Barcelona, came back and won it 3-0 at home and went through on away goals. Liverpool didn't get any away goals, of course, but I can't write them off 100% just yet. If there was one team that I would look to rally in the second leg when it's all against them, and they're playing at home, and they have the cop end going crazy, it would be Liverpool. They get those magic European nights somehow. A mountain to climb, and they cannot let Barcelona score, but who knows? 10% of me is reserving writing them off, even though I think it's pretty much done here. But again, I can't write them off completely. So my prediction is completely out the window. Had Liverpool taken those opportunities, or even one or two of them, hey, we'd be talking about a completely different scenario. But like I said, it will be tight. And while it wasn't tight on the score line, it was tight throughout the match for both teams. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the matches this week because they were pretty damn good semis in my eyes. They got me hyped, man. Also, if you enjoyed this video, then a like is always appreciated. I'm Adrian, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Later.